Let's go now to Morgan Murphy for the weather news. Morgan?
Thanks, Tasha. This week we saw some of the biggest storms of the year so far. Down in Louisiana, we saw a massive supercell go through there with very high winds. Those winds knocked down a lot of trees, and unfortunately it did damage a lot of houses, but fortunately nobody was actually killed during these storms. What you'll see here is those winds actually knocking over a train on an elevated track, and you'll see a large flash there. That's actually the power lines getting knocked down. Again, nobody was seriously hurt there. Over in Dublin, Texas, though, we did see another supercell go through there with softball-sized hail, and the people that actually saw this tornado here said that it was about a half a mile wide to a mile wide in some places. By far the biggest tornado we've seen this year so far, but again, nobody was seriously injured or killed in those storms. In the Midwest, though, it's a different story, just because we're in such a drought right now. Because we have such dry air, we're seeing these temperatures change so rapidly. So we'll take a look at the upper Midwest here in the Red River Valley. We're seeing afternoons, we're seeing a nice pleasant 60 to 58 degrees, but as we go into the nighttime hours, we're seeing them drop down sometimes to the lower 40s, upper 30s. As we go into the next day, though, we're seeing it go all the way back up to that 80 degrees. Everybody's outside, everybody's having a good time, and it's just so much fun when it gets up to that warm after a long winter. But then they're going to go right back down at nighttime, another 30 degrees. And what's actually causing this is twofold. One is the actual amount of moisture in the air. And this is our dew point map here, and we'll use Grand Forks as a reference right here. And you'll see all this blue here. That basically means there's not a lot of moisture in the air. It's a very low dew point. As we go in through the nighttime hours into the next day, you'll see a little bit of green here with a storm passing through there, but that's just going to be a couple showers. The majority of it's going to stay pretty dry, and that's what's causing the fluctuation in temperatures, because moist and saturated air can hold on to energy longer than dry air can, which is why the dry air is losing the energy and going up and down in temperature so much. The other thing is basically the cloud cover. Now, it's a beautiful day outside. Everybody's outside enjoying it. There's no clouds, not a cloud in the sky right now. But as we move into the next couple days here, you're going to see the exact same thing. It's staying pretty clear. And that's basically allowing all the energy on the surface to go back in the atmosphere, because none of the clouds are actually holding it at the surface. And the National Weather Service actually gives us a pretty good graphic to see what's actually going on as far as the humidity to temperature goes. Right here you can see Grand Forks. The temperature's going up and down like a roller coaster ride. You'll see right at the top there, you'll see about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the humidity down here is staying below 20% all throughout the day. Whereas over in Tampa Bay, Florida, it's going to stay pretty humid all day, and that's going to keep the temperatures pretty much the same. Now, I know we've got our eyes set on summer and those warmer temperatures, but before we put that snowblower away, there's a few things you should know.
In this quiet suburb garage works a master of small engines. Joe is otherwise known as Joe Fix-It. It's his business to fix and maintain small machines throughout the year.
I change oil once a year, plug once a year, air filter once a year. That's a cheap fix.
He says those three basic things can keep your small engine running for years to come. One of the problems with an engine, like a snowblower, is that they often sit.
If you want to leave that snowblower with fuel, you don't want to mess with the hassle of taking it out. Run it 5 to 10 minutes every third week.
But if you just leave the blower sitting in the corner of your shed all summer, it can create what he calls varnish.
That's what happens when our fuel develops water in it, and it just sits there, and then it breaks down, and then it deteriorates, and then it starts to get syrupy.
Joe adds a fuel additive that can stop condensation buildup that the fuel creates each time he fills up. So with these helpful tips, your mower or blower sitting in the corner of your shed will continue working no matter the season. I'm John Bommelman reporting for Studio One Weather.
Now, I know winter's a long ways away, but if you follow those quick tips, you'll be thanking yourself when the first snow falls. That brings us to our weather question of the week. Why do you often find rice in salt shakers in Florida? And Tasha, I know this sounds like it has absolutely nothing to do with it, but it does relate to what we were talking about before.
All right, thanks, Morgan. Now Morgan joins us in the studio with a final look at the weather. Morgan?
Thanks, Tasha. This week we're looking at getting a break from that cold weather. The whole United States looking pretty warm except for the Southwest, but they might actually like it a little bit cooler down there for a change. Moving over to precipitation for this week, we actually might see some drought breakage throughout the next week here with some thunderstorms down in the south there and pretty much throughout the whole United States. The upper west coast there staying a little bit drier than normal. That brings us back to our weather question of the week. Why do you often find rice in salt shakers in Florida? And it's because the salt will actually clump together and the rice will take the humidity right out of the air.
That's interesting. I never would have thought. Thanks, Morgan.